Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And we're going to do something a little bit different today. I wanted to, I had at one time, I had been doing a series that was a cultural jewelry making series, and I did all kinds of different um, types of jewelry from around the world. So I wanted to do this one that was traditional Indian wedding jewelry. And so I also wanted to incorporate these filigree pieces that I have into this type of jewelry. So today we're going to use these little filigree pieces that I have. Those. And we're going to make them into a ring bracelet. It is the easiest thing to make. So we're going to use the longer filigree piece to make the ring. I saw this, I actually saw a ring bracelet on, I don't know if anybody watches Project Runway. I saw one of the designers and she was wearing a ring bracelet with the little chain and everything in order to, and the whole time she was making all of her projects. And I thought, doesn't that get in the way? I mean, you got this thing swinging around. It was so delicate. It might catch on something or break. So I made one just to check it out. And I forgot I even had it on. It was just so light and airy and so pretty. And I got so many compliments that I decided to use it in a class, and we did it. Everybody loved it. So I decided to bring it on our tutorials. I've kind of expanded a little bit. Again, I decided to use the filigree pieces. Got this idea from one that I saw. What is her name? Oh gosh, I can't remember. She's on The Masked Singer, and she was wearing one of these really ornate rings. It came all the way up her finger, and it was just filigree. It was just shaped filigree. And I thought that is so. What's her name? Michelle Serlinger or something, I can't remember. But anyway, it was so pretty that I thought I have some of that filigree and I think it'll work. So I looked it up, and sure enough, people had showed how to just manipulate the filigree into a ring. And that's what we're going to do today. It's just a matter of shaping it into a circle to fit your finger. That's it. It's just so easy. And then we're going to take the other filigree piece, and you can weave a bead in there, or you can just leave it the way it is. It's pretty just the way it is with nothing. But I thought we would take those pieces, put them together, make a double link chain bracelet, and we'll make our own ring bracelet. That's what we're going to do. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to learn how to do that. We're going to learn how to just weave a little bead onto our filigree. Don't fall down. Take a bead, weave it into the filigree like this. We're going to make a link chain bracelet. And then we're going to make the attachment to the ring. We're going to shape our ring. And that's going to be what we do today. So we're going to be also making our own little clasp to fasten it all together. And let's do this. So what we need is our regular pliers, our round nose and square or chain nose pliers, our cutters, and we need three kinds of wire. We need 26, you can use 24 gauge wire to weave your bead in, but I would suggest 26 or 28. You can go with a higher number, but remember, the higher the number, the thinner the wire, and it can get a little tricky to keep the wire from breaking. So I'm going with 26 gauge wire in order to weave this little bead onto the filigree. And as you can see, this filigree has holes all over it. So you can weave as many beads in there as you want. It's entirely up to you. You can even weave beads into the ring that you make. I mean, it's really, the possibilities are endless on this. But I want to show you how to do that weave so that you can take your little wire and go crazy. So we're using 26 gauge, where's that? 26 gauge wire to weave our bead, 24 gauge wire to create our chain link, and 20 gauge wire to make our own jump rings, because we're going to make our own jump rings to attach everything. So let's get going. We've got lots to do today. So let me get down here to the camera and get going. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is how to weave our bead onto our filigree. So let's do that first. So we're going to take a piece of 26 gauge wire, and you don't need much. I'm just going to use about 3 inches. Straighten this out here. So I just need about 2 or 3 inches in order to wrap it. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is thread my wire, my 26 gauge wire, into the bead, right in the middle there. I'm going to fold it down like so. And then I'm going to poke it through this center hole here, right in the center of my filigree. Now, whatever filigree you're using, it depends on how the holes land. On this one that I'm using, it has little holes all the way around. So I'm kind of going to be sewing it together, sort of like sewing. Well, it's weaving, but it's the same type of motion that you would use to sew it. So I've got my bead, my wire through my bead. I'm going to just stick that down in the center here, both of my wires, until my bead is resting on top there. And let's get it turned right. Get up there. Push that all the way through. Get that all the way down. There we go. That's just resting on top there. I'm going to take that out because I want to make sure that's nice and even. So I'm going to fold that over, straighten that out a little bit. There we go. Let's do that again. Put that down in the center hole. Here we go. Now I'm going to hold that in place. And what I need to do now is just thread that up through the little hole that's on one side and then down the other while I'm holding my bead in place. And that's the way I did this one. There may be another way that you can do it, but that's what worked for me. So what I'm going to do is just put a curve in my wire. Let's curve it around. Just keep curving until I can get that end to go down into one of the little holes that's closest to my bead. So I'm still holding that bead on top here. So I'm going to push my wire up through the little hole that's next to my bead. Hope you can see what I'm doing. So there's the little hole. There's my wire. I'm going to feed that through the wire. Through the hole. Pull it through until it's nice and tight against my filigree. So there it is on the other side. And then I'm going to curve it around again until I can feed it through the next hole. Okay, here's my next hole here, right there. Push it back down through that little hole. There it is on the other side. And pull it through. And you can also use, oops, get back up there, a little display. You can also use your pliers to pull that through. I kind of like to use a push-pull motion. So there's one little wrap there. I'm going to bend it and put it back through the first hole again. It went down through here and up through here. So now I'm going to take it back down through that first hole again. Sort of like you're sewing a button on. So there's the tail. Pull it up through there. Push it down so that it's nice and close. There. And then I'm going to curve it around again and take it back down through that second hole again. I'm going to use the pliers. Now I don't like my wire to be too long. I just want enough so that I can thread it through and have about an inch left, because otherwise the wire can get bent up. And it's hard to get the kinks out. So I used about 3 inches, which is just enough. You can give yourself another inch or so if you're more comfortable with that. Pushing that through, pull the tail through. And there's one side. So there's the wraps on that side. See if you can see that. And so they're the wraps. So that one side is finished. Now let's go to the other one. It's right here down the center. And here are the 2 holes on the other side of my bead. These 2 holes right here and here. And I'm going to take my wire that's down in the center. I'm going to curve it. Bring it up through one of the holes. Here's the little tail of it. Push it through there. There we go. I'm going to curve it around and bring it back down through the second hole. And again, you can use your pliers. You may be able to see it a little bit better if I use the pliers. So there's my little hole. Push it down through there. Oh, get in there. Okay, there we go. Other side, there's the tail of it. Push that down and pull the tail. And there's the wrap, nice and tight there. And I'm going to curve it, bring it back up through that first hole again. Okay, move my finger out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, feed that down through the first hole. And flip it over and you can see the tail coming up here through the top, I think. Okay, I'm going to pull that through. And then curve it around and go back down the other hole again to the other side. Okay, get that in there. And there's the tail, the tip, pull it through. And there are my wraps. See on both sides. There's a wrap on this side and a wrap on this side. And here are the tails. And then what I like to do with the tails, I don't like to just cut them off. I like to take my round nose pliers and spiral them. And then push the spiral down so that I don't have any edges sticking out. So take that end and I'll make a nice loop. And I'll wrap the loop around itself, just give it a spiral. And then push the spiral down close to the bead. And there we have it. That's our wrap. There you go. And again, you can put a bead in all of these holes. I could put, let's see, how could I do this one? I could put a bead right here, take the two little stems and put them down in here, and then sew them or weave them up through these little holes that are next to it. I could do that on all four sides because I have holes everywhere in this little guy. Wouldn't that be awesome? Don't have time for that today, but hey, you could do it. You can go crazy. Those of you who are going to be getting kits, you're going to have plenty of beads. So you can weave and wire. So you can weave to your heart's content. Okay, so we've got that. Done. Next thing I'm going to show you how to make is your ring. That is the easiest thing you can possibly do. So we've got our filigree. You want to decide which side you want to use. And this one has a very distinctive front and back. The front is raised a little bit. You can see the little nubby parts of it. And on the back, it's just flat. So this is my front. This is what's going to show. And I'm going to use something very technical to do the shaping on this, an ink pen. So you just want some kind of a cylindrical item. And I always use something smaller than my finger. The finger on this little display is so tiny. When I put it on me, it's a whole different story. Because on this little guy's just drowning. But when I put it on my finger, it's perfect. Perfect. Isn't that awesome? I love it. See if you can see it in this camera. So untangled here. There we go. Isn't that lovely? I just love this. It is so pretty and so girly. Yeah, anyway, enough of that silliness. All right, so now we're going to shape our filigree around our ink pen. So what I like to do is take the ends and give them a little curve. Just give them a little curve under, just a little teeny start. And you can start shaping this with your fingers, or you can just hook it on the ink pen and just wrap it around. I just wrap the whole thing around there. And then I can widen it later to fit my actual finger. But I just need to get the shape of the ring started. There we go. Now you can see that is not going to fit on my big fat finger, but it's already nicely shaped. So then I can open it up to fit. And I did another one. I did one with a shorter piece of filigree. And this thing, once it's done and it's been there for a while, it will hold its shape. Look at that. I can't even pull it apart. I was trying to open it up to see, and it said, nope, I am a ring, so leave me alone. So you can shift it a little bit. You don't have to worry about, I mean, if you say, well, that was awfully easy to manipulate, how's it going to hold its shape? Believe me, it will work harden so that you don't have to worry about it coming loose or anything. Okay, so now I can get it to where it will fit my finger, my big fat finger. Actually, my fingers aren't all that fat. Thank goodness, at least one part of me isn't. Okay, so there we go. There's my ring. Isn't that awesome? Easy as pie. Okay, so I have my ring. I have my little filigree. Let's make our bracelet and our chain. So all we need for that, I'm going to use 24 gauge wire and just show you how to make these little chain links. Okay, so we're going to take a bead. Let's grab a bead here. And what I do is just take about a few inches of wire, 8, 10 inches of wire here. Straighten out that edge. I could cut that off, but I am a thrifty. As my brother would say, I'm not cheap, I'm just thrifty. So I straighten that out. So what I'm going to do is make my links. And the way I start that is to make a loop on the end like this to make my links. So I take about a 1/2 inch of wire. I bend that back on the end like that. And then I take my pliers and I put it under the short tail of wire, one half of it under, and clamp down on top with the other half. I bring that short tail over the pliers, and notice I don't go too far down my pliers. It doesn't have to be a large loop. So I'm just about 1/3 of the way down my pliers. Then I turn my pliers until they're kind of on top. I bring my wire across until it's under the pliers, and then I wrap it around the long tail. And one of the reasons I keep a long tail of wire, that way I don't waste as much wire that way. Instead of trying to cut off little pieces, I can cut it off after I finish. So I've wrapped that around. There's my loop. I'm going to just leave that little tail on there for the moment. I'm going to feed my bead on. Okay. Take my round nose pliers again. I'm going to bend my wire back until I have another bell shape. Slide my pliers 1/2 under my wire. The other half clamps down on top of my wire. Bring the tail of my wire over the top and then down the side. Turn my pliers until they're over the bead. And then I wrap that tail around the wire, under the pliers, and over the bead. Just wrap it around there 2 or 3 times. So now I have a nice wrapped bead. So now, see how these are going in different directions? I'll do that. So this one's going this way, that one's going that way. All I have to do is turn the loop until they're both facing the same direction. And now let's cut it off. I cut it really close to the wrapped wire. Snip that off. Then I'll take my pliers, my flat pliers, and I'll push that little end down so that it's not sticking up and it won't scratch you. Same thing on the other side. Find that little tail, there it is, and just push it down. Nice and close to the wrapped wire. Get in there. There we go. Okay, now we're going to attach another bead. And the way we do that is the same thing. We just grab a bead. Decide which bead you want. Take a piece of wire. About a 1/2 inch of wire. Bend it off to the side. Slide your pliers underneath, one underneath and one on top of the short end. Bring that end across the pliers and down the other side. Then turn your pliers until it's on top and the wires are hanging down. Bring that short tail all the way under the pliers and then stop. Now we're going to connect it to the one that's already done. So I'm going to take the ring. This is clear. We're going to take the closed ring And we're going to slide it over the short tail of wire and down into the open one, the open loop. Slide it down in there. So now it's inside the other loop. And now let's close this loop up. So I'm going to just take my pliers, hold the ring on the side, and wrap that little tail around the long stem of wire. So there we go. Got our first link. Let's put my bead on. Bend that wire off to the side again. Slide my pliers under, clamp down, wrap the wire over the top and down the side. Turn my pliers, clamp down. Bring my wire all the way around until I have a loop, just like that. And then wrap that tail around the stem of wire 2 or 3 times. Your choice to how many times, but you should do it at least 2 times. And then clip off the long tail down as short as you can get. And push down that end so it doesn't snag anything. Now you can wait until you finish all of your links and then push all the tails down at the end, or you can push them down one by one. I like to wait until the end, then I don't have to switch pliers, and then push down the ends, put those down, grab the other pliers. If I can just do it all at once, it saves a little time. Let's do that one more time. Grab my wire, bend it off to the side, about a ½ inch. Slide my pliers down, clamp down on the wire, bring the tail across and over until it's hanging down with the long wire. Turn my pliers, clamp down again, bring that tail all the way over until it makes a circle. Slide the closed loop down over the tail and into the open loop. Hold on to that loop on the side, wrap that short tail around the long wire a couple of times. Put my next bead on. Bend my wire off to the side. Slide my pliers down. Clamp the wire. Wrap the tail of the wire around. Turn my pliers. Make my loop. And then wrap the tail around the wire. Now you can wrap the tail around the wire with the pliers inside the loop or on the side of the loop. It's entirely up to you, which is more comfortable. When there's no bead in there to block you, you can do it either way. So there we go. So we've got a nice chain. And then I'm going to cut that off, push down those ends, push down the end on this side. Cut this one off. Push down the end. And then this is how we make our chain. So now I've got a lot of beads here. I'm going to go ahead and finish the other chains. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to put it all together so that this and this are attached, and how to do our bracelet. Okay. Oh, but before we do that, you know what? I'm going to show you how to make your jump rings. And when we come back, we can put everything together. So now we want to move on to 20 gauge wire. So what I'm going to do is just take some 20 gauge wire. I'm just going to leave it on the spool, but for each jump ring, depending on the size of your jump ring, and ours is only going to be about 6 millimeters. You'll need it takes about a little more than 1/4 of an inch of wire per jump ring, about 3/8 of an inch. And in order, again, to keep from wasting wire, I just give myself a long strand of wire. You can leave it on the spool. You can cut a long strand about 4 or 5 inches. We're going to need about 12 jump rings to connect in everything. You're going to need 2 on the ends of your bracelet on one side, and then 2 on the other side of one 2-strand row, 2 on the other. Well, anyway, you're going to need 12 jump rings in order to connect everything. So what we're going to do is take our 20 gauge wire. We're going to go, in this case, I'm going to go about a little more than halfway down my pliers. I'm going to grip my wire and make sure none of the tail of the wire is sticking out the back of my pliers. And I'm going to make a loop. So I'm just going to start to rotate until I have a loop, a full loop. Now there's the tail of my wire. I want to make sure that that tail is out towards the tip of my pliers. And as I'm rotating, I want to hold my wire in the same spot. So this is a very controlled process. You don't want to try to rush it, because the tail of your wire is going to start to drift out towards the tip of your pliers. You want to make sure that this isn't going down or going up, because you want all of your jump rings to be the same size. So I'm just going to keep turning. There's my little tip again. See, it's starting to get closer to the tip of my pliers. And I'm just going to keep rotating. See that? More and more. Just keep going and going and going. And I'm going to cut that off and show you how to cut your jump rings. Okay, so I have about several here. 1, 2, 3. I've got about 4 jump rings here so far. So now I'm going to back my pliers up to the tip where the tip of my wire is. I'm going to cut. Cut that off. Oh, stop it. Oh my goodness, what the heck? Get back over here. Where's the tip? There it is. Okay, clip that off. There's one. Again, right up against the tip. Clip. There's 2. And clip. There's 3. So I had 3. Thought I had 4. That's okay. So that is how you make your jump rings. Neat, huh? This one's a little misshapen, but that's okay. But that is how you make your very own jump rings. All right, so now we have our ring. We have our filigree piece for our bracelet. We have our chain started. I'm going to finish my chain. I need to make 2 more, let's see, 2 more to extend to my ring, and then 4 more for my bracelet. So let me go ahead and do that off camera. I'll be back and we will put it all together. Okay, I have all of my little components and we're ready to put them together. Here's my ring. There's the center of my bracelet. There's the bracelet itself that's going to wrap around my wrist. There are my extensions from the bracelet to the ring. I've got my jump rings, and we're ready to put everything together. So let's do this. Okay, the first thing I want to show you is the proper way to open a jump ring. So you're going to take your jump ring. Here's the opening in your jump ring. Let's see if I can get that where it is clear. It's like it moves in and then it sabotages itself or something. Okay, that's better, I think. Okay, so there's the little opening in my jump ring. So I'm going to grab that with the pliers. There's my opening. My pliers are on the side. And then I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to push down on the ring until I have it open. See now, so now you can see that it's nicely open. Or I can take my pliers again, put them on one side of my opening, take another pair of pliers, and twist until it's open. You never want to pull your rings apart so that you distort the ring. You want to always make sure that you just push it open or twist it open so that when you go to close it again, all you have to do is push it back down and you have a perfect ring again. See? Nice. Okay. So I've opened all the rest of these just to make my life easier. And now it's time to put everything together. Now, what you want to do is make sure your bracelet's going to be big enough. The standard piece, this piece right here, is going to be the only stationary piece. So you want to measure your wrist and see how big it is, and then measure the rest of the pieces to see how many of these links you need to make the bracelet the size that's required to fit your wrist. Now I'm going to be attaching from right here on these two little rings on the end here. So I'm going to measure that distance, which is about 1 inch. So this piece is going to be 1 inch. My wrist is about 7.5 inches. That means I need another 6.5 inches worth of beads and clasp in order to fit my wrist. So it's all relative to the size of your wrist as to how many of these links you make to fit. The same thing with the distance from your wrist to your ring. You need to measure your hand from the point of your bracelet to the end of the ring. Give yourself a little bit of wiggle room on there because you don't want it completely tight, because every time you try to move your hand, it will put tension on your connectors. So you want to make sure that you have a little bit of play in that. You don't want it to be like this so that it's too tight and you don't have any wiggle room. Okay, so now let's put everything together. So the first thing I want to do is put jump rings in these little holes to attach my chain for my bracelet. So I'm going to put the first jump ring in one side, just thread it through the little hole, and you don't have to use the pliers for that. You can use your fingers. I find when I'm doing this on camera, I think you can see a little better if I'm not using my fingers to put everything together. Let's see if it works. Get that down in there. Okay. And attach the ring to my one chain. Close it up. Make sure it's nice and closed, the ends together, no openings. Here we go. So there's one. And I'm going to put the jump ring in the other little hole on the other side. Oops. I should use my fingers. Attach my chain. Slide that down in my jump ring. Close it up. Okay, there's one half. And notice I'm just using all different colored beads. No rhyme or reason to it. Just nice, colorful piece to really offset the bronze. Okay, let's open that up a little bit more. Make it a little easier. Slide that on. Slide that into one little loop. Close it up. And I can use my pliers, I can use my fingers, whatever works best for you. One more section. Another jump ring. And the last little link to the bracelet chain. Close it up. And there we go, there's the bracelet. Oops, I missed one. Oh, I didn't have that closed. See, this is not completely closed. Shame on me. I did not check it closely enough. Okay, close. Check, make sure there's no spaces in there. Good. Let's check the others. Yes. So there is my bracelet. I still have to put the clasp on, but there we go. So now let's do the attachment for the chain. I have a double chain here, so I'm going to use the 2 holes leading up to the ring. Another jump ring. Chain on. Close it. Make sure it's nice and tight. Jump ring on the other side. Grab my chain. Slide it on. Close it up. And would you look at that? There we go. Now we're going to attach our chain to the ring. Ta-da! And there's lots of places I can attach it. I could just attach it, the 2 rings in the center here. Let's see if that's clear. I can attach them in the center, but I'm going to attach them on these little sides down here. Yeah. So there's my bracelet. Here's my hand chain. Grab a jump ring. I think I went overboard on the jump rings. Grab a jump ring. Attach my chain. Attach one end of my ring. Now I need to make sure that I'm attaching the right side. So this side is going to go on this side of my ring. Let's go over here. Yeah. There we go. And close it. Okay. And then grab another jump ring. Slide it on my chain and go to the other side, just to the right or left in the middle. Slide that on. Close it up. Okay, there we go. And there's our chain. Now, last but not least, what's left? Not much, just the clasp. We're going to make our own clasp. So what I'm going to do is put on a jump ring on the ends here. So I need to attach my 2 strands, put them together. Close that up. Have a little gap there, so I need to make sure that's nicely closed. Just kind of wiggle it and push it into place. There we go. If I can't get my fingernail through, I know I'm good. I don't want any openings. Here we go. Just a little bit more. Still see more of an opening than I like. Make sure that that's nice and flush against each other. There. Okay, then I'm going to put a second one on so that my clasp isn't bumping into these. And you can also make as much of a chain as you want to accommodate whatever length extra length you might need. So I'm going to put a second one on. I might end up taking it off if it makes my bracelet too big. But now I've got a little mini chain. Make sure that's nice and tight, no openings in there. There we go. And do the same thing on the other side. Oh, look at that. The two turquoises ended up together. That was very random. Okay, one side and the other side. And close. I may as well go ahead and put my other jump ring on, then I don't have to open it again. There we go. Close it up. Nice and tight. And secure. And there we go. A little bit mini chain on both sides. So a little tighter. There we go. Now we're going to make a clasp. Yes, we are coming into the home stretch. Okay, so where's my 20 gauge wire? We used 20 gauge wire to make our jump rings. And now we're going to use 20 gauge wire to make our clasp. So what we need for this, we're just going to make a tiny little decorative clasp. It doesn't have to be too big. Do I want to make a wrapped one? Nah, we'll just make one with a little bit of a decoration in the center. So I'm going to take about 2.5 inches of wire. Snip that off. Doesn't need to be very big at all. I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to find the center of my wire. I'm just eyeballing it. Here we go, center of my wire. And I'm going to slide it down until I have just about 1/4 of an inch down my pliers because it doesn't need to be too big. And I'm going to bend 1/2 of my wire over towards the other one. And then I'm going to take that other wire and bend it to the opposite side. Squeeze them together, slide the wire out, and I have this nice little Superman S. Da, 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 da. Okay, so now I'm going to make an S clasp. Now, I want my loop, my shepherd's hook, to go towards the loop in the center here. So what I'm going to do is make a little bit of a curve. It's kind of a little wave. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. It's curving towards the little loop. So you see a little wave pattern. I think you can see that. You see that? A lot of glare here. Turn this light off, if that's any better. So now I have a little wave pattern. So now what I'm going to do, I only need about ½ an inch. Doesn't need to be too long because my clasp doesn't need to be that big. So I'm going to cut that down just a little bit on each side. Yes, about ½ an inch, a little tiny bit more. Yes, now I'm going to make a tiny loop. Here's my curve. I'm going to make a loop going in the opposite direction of the curve. So my wire is swooping up. My loop is going to be turning down. So I just grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers and make the smallest loop possible. And what I'm going to do is just go about 3/4 of the way. I'm not going to go all the way. I'm not going to let the tip go all the way to the back, because then I'm going to smash that down so that the loop is even smaller. Just a teeny tiny little loop. Just like that. Then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to go to the back of my pliers. I'm going to grab just below the loop, and there's my loop going this way. I'm going to rotate my pliers in the opposite direction and create a shepherd's hook. Just like so. And I'm going to go to the other side. And again, there's my swoop going towards me. I'm going to make a loop going in the opposite direction, grabbing the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. Make as small a loop as I can, going about 3/4 of the way around. Then I'm going to take my pliers and squeeze it the rest of the way. So I have a teeny tiny little loop. And I just kind of tap it little bits at a time until that loop closes up. Like so. I'm going to take my pliers, slide my wire back, and make my shepherd's hook. Oops, there we go. So I just have a little squiggly designed clasp. And this clasp is really neat because, let me close this up a little more. My little loop isn't completely closed. This clasp is really neat because it doesn't matter if you are left-handed or right-handed because it's a separate piece. So you can put it on whichever way is easiest for you. I'm going to close that up. I like to make sure that the loop is backed up against the center so that when you put it on, it snaps in place and it won't slide off easily. So I like to squeeze this until it goes past the center and then let it relax into place so that they're back to back. Same on the other side. See how there's an opening there? I'm going to squeeze it until it's just past the center. And then when I let go, it relaxes against the back of it. Slide it on. Oops, it's a little tight. Get on there. There we go. And there's my bracelet. There you go. There's your bracelet. There's your ring. And I'm going to show you the easiest way to wear this. The easiest way to put it on. Let me try it on. Make sure I made it big enough. That would be terrible. Up to there. Yes, it's plenty big enough. Okay, the easiest way to put it on, I find, is to put the ring on first. Slide my ring on. All right, now we can see. Slide my ring on. Oof, tight. Open it up a little bit. Oh, when I put it on the center finger, you can put it on your actual ring finger if you want. I put my ring on first and then my bracelet. I find that easier to fasten that way. Okay. And that's my chain. I can find the loop. Oh, it's easier if I take my glasses off in order to see where my little loop is. Where is it? Oh, got it flipped. There we go. And there it is. Ta-da! Isn't that neat? I love it. I wish I could show it. I could show it the other direction. I know it's upside down. But there it is. Oh, ring bracelet. Do, 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 do. I love this. Now I have two of them. I have red and turquoise. Let me turn the other way. See if I can show you this way. There we go. Put it on the other camera so I can show it off. I love it. Isn't that neat? Now you can see what I meant when I said, make sure you have a little bit of wiggle room here, because then that way, if I go like this and if it's really taut, I won't have any way to move. It'll put stress on my chain. But this way, isn't that pretty? I'm glad I wore this black shirt because it looks great against that. Ah, it's so sparkly. The first time I wore one of these, I was in a class and it was not a class for Indian jewelry. It was a different class. And I had one of the participants come up to me and say very quietly, do you realize you're wearing traditional Indian jewelry? And I said, yes, I do. I was so thrilled that somebody, so she was from Mumbai. And so I got a little validation that I knew what I was doing. So I love this. I keep looking at it. I'm so vain. But isn't that cute? And it's so easy. It's a matter of just making your chain bracelet, putting your, weaving a little bead in the center of um, what's I going to say? In the center of your filigree, and shaping the other filigree to go around your finger. And again, if you wanted to, you could put beads all over your ring filigree. You could put beads all over the bracelet filigree. It's entirely up to you. It is really up to you how you want to do it. But there it is. There's my ring bracelet, and that's our program for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will make one. And for those of you who get the kits, you will get the beads for the bracelet and the extension. You'll get the filigrees for the rings, and you'll have all 3 sizes of wire that you need to complete the project. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you will enjoy this. So one of the prettiest things I think that I have made that's just so different and ornate and just pretty. Anyway, so I hope you will come back again and enjoyed our program. And you're going to be seeing these again, because I'm thinking of all kinds of ways that you can manipulate these filigrees. And I think that they will go with a lot of different projects. So I've already thought of a way to use them again. So you're going to see this again. And I hope that you have a good weekend and a good week, and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the beautiful weather if you're having some. My sister's in Ohio and she said it was snowing. Ew. Anyway, see you next time, or if I don't see you next time, you will see me next time. And until then, bye-bye.